Hi dear friends and subscribers, welcome to your Cricket Happening show with your host Ram. And this part of the cricket show, I am going to look at a dramatic day as far as England's fortunes were concerned in the first test against New Zealand, which was played at the University Stadium ground here in Dunedin. Now, as you know, the first day's play was washed out, and this was the first test match that England was playing against New Zealand in 2013. And what a dismal start they had to the proceedings, with the New Zealand seamers swarming all over England. Not only that, Neil Wagner bowled superbly. There was a debutant, the left-arm spinner Bruce Martin, at the age of 32, making his debut, bowled splendidly to capture 4 wickets, and that left England all out for 167. And New Zealand rubbed into the wounds of the Englishmen by posting 131 for no loss at close of play on the second day of the first test match between England and New Zealand, which started at Dunedin after rain had washed out the previous day's play. Well, so we will look at that, and then if time permitting, if my report ends of England and New Zealand, then I would try to do a brief preview of the Bangladesh versus Sri Lanka, the first test match, which is coming up on 8th of March at Galle. And then we'll also look at that Sri Lanka actually leaving out Thilan Samaraweera, one of the very strong batsman who really likes to grind the ball in, and he was a perfect example as far as technique is concerned for test matches. And he was dropped by the Sri Lankan team, and that prompted Thilan Samaraweera to say goodbye to international cricket. But he was a wonderful player. He was a bit out of form, but he definitely got into form in the domestic season. But he was overlooked for the Sri Lankan team as far as Bangladesh was concerned, and that's the precise reason he decided to say enough is enough, and he retired from international cricket. So if I have time, I will dwell on that. Otherwise, it would be only a full report on this. And also one more thing that I would like to talk about, if at all I find time, that will be the Indian batsman Virendra Sehwag, who has been struggling for form. We all know the axe was on his head for the third test in Mohali. Yes, that has happened. The Indian selectors have decided to drop Virendra Sehwag for the third test match, which is going to be played between India and Australia at Mohali in Chandigarh, which starts on Friday. I think it's on Friday, I suppose. Well, so let's start off with the cricket report on the second day's play between New Zealand and England, which was played at the University ground here, University Oval here in Dunedin. Well, it was actually England were the ones who batted first after New Zealand won the toss and elected to field, and that was the right decision, because what happened was that England totally succumbed as far to the New Zealand bowlers, to be all out for 167. This was the famed batting lineup. These had amassed lots of runs, and they had got a very good test ranking. And you know, New Zealand are ranked number 8 in the world. But I thought New Zealand have done a wonderful job, not only to bowl out England for 167 on the second day, but also, as I said, rubbing it in by posting 131 for no loss with their new openers, brand new openers at the crease. Peter Fulton not out on 46, and Hamish Rutherford, who was actually making his debut, and he made an unbeaten 77. We'll talk about that. First, let's look at the England innings. Well, England started off with there was a bit of cloud cover, and that's what prompted the New Zealand captain Brendan McCullum to actually put England in. And England, well, they never really had it their way, as the first wicket to go was Nick Compton. Nick Compton struggled at the crease. Nick Compton did very well against India, and as I said, he's a perfect test match player. But Nick Compton was the first to go, as he was clean bowled by Saudi for a duck. So that was the first wicket, and England were 5 for 1. In came Jonathan Trott to join Alistair Cook. Alistair Cook, well, he got his score to 10. And this is the time Neil Wagner, who came in because Doug Bracewell was injured and he was not selected. And that's the precise reason Neil Wagner got his turn. And Neil Wagner, what a turn he did for himself in this test match. What he did a double strike by picking up 2 vital wickets of 2 consecutive balls. The first to go was the English captain, Alistair Cook, who, as you know, how much runs he has amassed, and it was a pity to say him. Alistair Cook was the first to go as he was gone, caught by Rutherford off the bowling of Wagner. He actually tried to cut the ball and he paid the penalty. He was caught in the slips by Rutherford, bowled Wagner for 10 with 1-4, and that made the score 18 for 2. Peterson walked in to really some tremendous applause, but Peterson, let me tell you, he was walking as soon as he came in, the next ball that he received, the first ball that he received, Peterson was a goner, as Wagner got a ball to jag in, and Peterson was trapped in front, and up went the umpire's finger. Peterson trotted off to the pavilion, out for a golden duck. It was LBW ball Wagner. Wagner was absolutely accelerated. He was absolutely happy about the whole thing, and they had reduced England to 18 for 3. So 18 for 3, and then there was a sort of a consolidation phase which was done by Jonathan Trott and Ian Bell. They actually really tried to repair the damage, and they pushed on the score to 64. With the score on 64, Bell was the next man to go, as Bell was gone, as Wagner once again got amongst the wickets, his 3rd wicket here, as Ian Bell was caught by Rutherford off the bowling of Wagner for 24 with 5 boundaries, and that made the score 64 for 4. In walked Joe Root. As you know, Joe Root, there are a lot of expectations. He has been doing a pretty good job in all the formats of the game, but Joe Root was gone as Trent Boult this time struck by getting him caught by Brownlee. He was gone for 4, which made the score look a bit ragged at 71 for 5. Jonathan Trott was really trying to stay there at the crease, occupy the crease, and try to be the anchor man, but what he saw was he didn't get much support from the other end. Matt Pryor walked in, and Matt Pryor hit a few boundaries. He hit 5 fours in his knock of 23, and this was the time Bruce Martin was introduced into the attack. And Bruce Martin, at the age of 32, he's a left-arm spinner, made his attack. He's a pro. His bowling is similar to Daniel Vettori, the left-arm spinner, and he has been in the shadows just because the reason being Daniel Vettori was a regular in the New Zealand team. He was the most experienced bowler. But Bruce Martin finally got his chance at 32, and what he did to his chances is something absolutely brilliant. Because of the pressure being created by the seamers, by Tim Southee, Trent Boult and Neil Wagner in particular, it really gave an opportunity to Bruce Martin to experiment a few things. He got an attacking field from Brendan McCullum, and he got the wickets. The first wicket to go after, from the score of 71 for 5, the score reached 108. Matt Pryor was the next to go, as he was caught by Williamson I think it was a short leg, and he was caught by Williamson on the bowling of Martin for 23 with 5 boundaries. The next to go was Jonathan Trott, who had actually tried to occupy the crease, but Bruce Martin had other ideas. In fact, Bruce Martin got him by getting him caught by Boult off the bowling of Martin, and Jonathan Trott was gone 45 with 7 boundaries. So that made the score 109 for 7, and it was now left to the all-rounders, or the tail-enders as you could call it, Stuart Broad, Finn and Anderson. Well, what they could do is they too struggled. Stuart Broad, he went for a stroke which was a bit surprising, because that was the precise time Brendan McCullum, with his captaincy, seeing that Broad is trying to attempt the slog sweep, he had actually got a man there at fine leg, and Brownlee was the man who took the catch as Stuart Broad attempted a slog sweep shot. It was caught by Brownlee off the bowling of Martin for 10 with 2 boundaries. Stephen Finn and Anderson then added some valuable runs for them, because from 119 for 8, it was Stephen Finn and Anderson really adding some very, very valuable runs, and that is the precise reason England actually reached 167. And that was, that the partnership was worth 47. But once again, Wagner, coming on to his second spell, struck. As first he picked up the wicket of Stephen Finn, caught by Rutherford off the bowling of Wagner for 20 with 3 boundaries. And then James Anderson was gone as Bruce Martin picked up his fourth test wicket here. As James Anderson was gone, caught Wagner, bowled Martin for 23 with 4 boundaries. Monty Palliser was not out on 1. 167 all out was the England tally. And New Zealand was absolutely overjoyed about the whole fact that they would have never expected that England would succumb in such fashion. Let's look at the bowling figures. The spoils were shared equally by Neil Wagner and Bruce Martin, the test debutant. Neil Wagner, 11 overs, 2 maidens, 42 runs and 4 wickets. He was the one who did all the prime strikes. And then Bruce Martin capitalized with bowling 14 overs, 4 maidens, 43 runs and 4 wickets. Trent Boult got a solitary wicket, 15 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 32. Tim Southee gave the breakthrough, 15 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 45. 167 all out, a splendid effort by the New Zealand seamers. And then probably one would have expected that England will really strike something big so that they could put the pressure on New Zealand, even though, as I said, this was a good, perfect batting track, and I thought England have done themselves a lot of harm by playing some very, very horrible strokes, and that's the precise reason they were all out for 167. New Zealand started, and New Zealand finished off at the close. They went to close of play on the second day of the second test in Dunedin at 131 for no loss. So in fact, not only did they bowl out England for 167, but their opening batsmen, they were absolutely brand new opening bats there. Peter Fulton making his comeback to the team at the age of 36. He came in on the dint of some very good domestic performances, and he definitely made it count. He was the one who was a person who was actually playing the second fiddle to Hamish Rutherford, who was actually making his debut. And Hamish Rutherford had a wonderful test debut as he picked up not only his 50, but he finished on 77 not out with 10 gloriously timed fours. He was driving superbly, bit shaky initially, but he finished with an unbeaten 77 with 10 boundaries and 1 6. Peter Fulton was playing second fiddle, but he had 46 to his name with 7 fours, and New Zealand closed the day at 131 for no loss, meaning they have only another 36 runs to actually go into the lead, and they could actually have a stranglehold on the match. And New Zealand definitely, as I said, this is a very perfect batting track, and I'm sure New Zealand would like to amass runs here, probably put 400 or 500 on the board. But well, if the English bowlers can actually, turn it around in the first session and pick up some quick wickets, that would be good for them. So New Zealand have done a great job here by bowling out England for 167 and finishing on 131 for no loss. Let's look at the bowling figures. Anderson, 9 overs, 1 maiden, none for 35. Stephen Finn, 12 overs, 2 maidens, none for 35. Stuart Broad, 10 overs, 1 maiden, none for 23. Monty Palliser with this spin, 8 overs, 1 maiden, none for 26. Jonathan Broad bowled 2 overs for 4 runs. Joe Root bowled 1 over, which was a maiden. And Hamish Rutherford and Bruce Martin were the test debutants as far as New Zealand were concerned. Now, what is going to be interesting to see, as I said, England have to do some quick striking if at all they want to get. As I said, the pitch is good, but New Zealand have to guard against it, and they have to see to it that if these openers actually take the score past 167 first, and then they start playing their strokes. And they have some very big batting lineup still to come with the likes of Kane Williamson, Ross Taylor, Doug Brownlee, the captain himself, Brendan McCullum, Brian Watling. So they have a very good batting order still to follow, and they would be fancying their chances as far as this first test match is concerned. Now, as I said, I don't have much time, so I'm just going to briefly touch on something. Tilam Samaravira of Sri Lanka has retired from international cricket. For me, it is very sad because he was a wonderful test match player, lots of test runs on his back. He has 14 test centuries, and Virendra Sehwag has been dropped from for the third test match against Australia. But probably I beg to differ on this. I thought since India were winning, they could have just given an extended run for Virendra Sehwag probably in this series. But well, the selectors probably thought otherwise, and they decided to drop Virendra Sehwag. And other than that, dear fans, friends and subscribers, I don't have anything else to cover. Keep an eye, Bangladesh taking on Sri Lanka in the first test match at Galle on 8th of March. But I'll be back with a full match report on the third day's play, which should be an interesting day as far as England and New Zealand are concerned. That's it from me, your host Ram, for the cricket show for today. See you all tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye from your host Ram. Thank you.